Beacon Health Center Board member and Safe Harbor House for Women Board member. She's a native of Cape Girardeau. She and her husband Trent have 2 boys, Clark Thomas, who is 5, and Beckett Robert, who is 21 months, and they're so cute. Her faith and her family are very important to her, and I will tell you, Kara will open her door to speak to any of us at any time. I present to you Kara Clark.
I don't know if this works or not. I guess I don't need to stand back here, really. If it doesn't work, I'll just stand over here if you don't mind. So I set some handouts over there. I didn't know if you wanted to pass these out or if you want me, I didn't know. I left them over there because you're welcome to take those. I'm usually not much on printed material, but I wanted you all to have those in your hand tonight if you want to take those with you. I'd be happy to email you anything you would like as well, but it helps sometimes if you have it in front of you instead of a PowerPoint that somebody's going through really quick. So you can have it in front of you to look at and take with you tonight, and I'd be happy to give you any more information. But thank you all for having me, and I appreciate you all getting involved. You know, it's really sad because sometimes during an April election, which is your general municipal elections, which you're electing school board members and those people, city council members who are very close in making laws and affecting you in your homes, in your schools, and we have the lowest percentage of turnout for those elections. Sometimes 4%, 8%, 10% in the county. And only if there's a real heated issue on one of those April general municipal elections will we get a turnout of maybe 15 to 19% at a high. So I appreciate that you all are getting involved, and I think it's good that people do get engaged. And you know, we go about our day-to-day lives, and they're so busy. I know, mine is too. I start the day early and I end it late every day, going nonstop, as I'm sure most of you do. But it's very important that we stop and see what's going on in the world around us, and that we wake up and become engaged. So I really appreciate that involvement that you all are doing. This is one of the handouts we have. It's a rack card that I give out to a lot of my groups just so they can take when I'm speaking. But it tells every election that we're having in Cape Girardeau County this year. It talks about the registration deadlines in our county. And a lot of people don't know that if you move from one county in Missouri to another county, you have to re-register. And you have to re-register by the deadline. So unless you moved here after the deadline, then there is a provision. But so some people don't know that, and they miss out on being able to vote in very important elections. So we want to make sure that people know that they do need to register from county to county in the state of Missouri. Currently, we have a little over 51,000 registered voters in the county. I'm very proud to say that the staff in my office really takes the voter registration serious. We've had somebody working in that position now for, I guess she's been there about 19 years, and she knows the process inside and out. And she's seen the changes of when Missouri did not have a centralized system to when, and how chaotic that was. If you can only imagine, nothing was in the computer. How do you track these people? I mean, you think about people now, it's like, I don't know what states have a centralized system. But thankfully in Missouri we do. So when somebody moves, you take them out of the system. When somebody, you know, you can see if there's a duplicate in the system, or you think there could be a duplicate, we match by social security, birth date. You know, and we really closely work with other counties in the state to keep our rolls clean. We are constantly viewing the death list from the state of Missouri daily to remove those voters who have unfortunately passed, and we keep our records clean. So that's one thing I'm proud to say in Missouri. Now, I can't speak to other states. You know, people ask me all the time, well, I hear this. Well, I don't know what's going on in California, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, I have to be responsible for our county here. This is my county, it's our county, and I'm responsible for our county and our state, you know. And one of the things in conjunction with the other things that we have to do in our office is every day, the lawmakers that you elect to go to Jeff City are up there making laws for one reason or another. So some reasons are for good reasons, some reasons are because somebody thinks it's a good thing. Maybe it's not good for everyone. So we have to stay on top of that legislation daily. And you do not understand when they're in session how many bills come across my desk daily that are so lengthy that I have to take the time to at least read the provisions in them to see if anything is going to affect our county in cost, in workload being placed on us that should be placed somewhere else, laws that could affect you and I directly that are not a good law. It's just happening day in and day out. These bills come across, and they're to do with everything. And you do not understand how many bills they have that go through there that you really have to keep an eye on day in and day out. Because there has been legislation like early voting that could cost our county and our state thousands and thousands of dollars. And who's paying for that? It's the taxpayers. It's you and I. I pay taxes too, just like everybody else. So I want to make sure that every tax dollar we spend is something of a necessity. So that legislation is something that we stay on top of every day. Yes, and please feel free to ask questions as we go along. I mean, you might think of something that I'm not thinking about.
So when they pass a law, I mean, I would think that if it was going to affect your duties or the county clerk's duties in all of our counties, that they would send an immediate release or whatever telling you to change something. They don't do that. You have to find out for yourself.
So as a bill is passed, or as a bill is on the table that's being worked through the system, that may come about, that may be, go through the Senate, go through the House and be passed as a law, as those are written and being tossed about every day, for lack of a better word, as they're being put through the system to become a law, we have to stay on top of those daily because it might be something that we don't want, that you don't want, that I don't want, that's going to be very costly. We have to write fiscal notes to Jeff City, put that in to say, hey, this is how it's going to affect our county. A lot of times it's a pick up the phone to our senators or our representatives to say this is not good and this is why, and then it's up to them to take it and go with it. But there's always opinions from this way and that way. I mean, they obviously thought it was good, or for one reason or another they were told it was good, and that's why they write the bill to put it through, to be passed. And this is for elections, this is for all types of things, this is for court systems, this is for elections, this is for school laws, this is for, I mean, these are bills that are being written and tried to be passed through to be placed into law every day. So it's real important that we stay on top of that. And throughout the county, throughout the counties, I mean, I don't have time to stay on top of every piece of legislation, but I look at what's coming through for elections every day, and to see how that's going to affect us.
Is there anybody else in your office that helps you do that? Or that's
Well,
just one of your givens?
No, that's the one thing I do.
Wow.
Yeah. Because
So can engaged citizens help you out at all in any way? I mean, Linda and I were looking, I'm
Yeah.
sure maybe other,
So I don't know if you have to be, I don't know how you get on that list, if it has to be, I get on the list to get the legislation, and I only get the stuff that pertains to counties.
Yeah.
So I don't get everything that's out there. I only get the stuff that pertains to counties, or that could affect a county in some type of way. But the Jefferson City would be the place to contact. I could get you the contact information because I don't know how you can get on that list. But then it would be emailed to you, if that was allowed, if a citizen can get on that list and get that legislation. I mean, I don't know that could be passed, But you would be surprised all of the stuff that's being written every day by different lawmakers that's trying to be passed through to change our laws, And some are good things and some are not good things, And I mean, you want to think that everything's going through and the intent that somebody thought it was a good idea. But they didn't check out all of the negative effects of it either, you know? So that's why you really have to stay on top of things, because we don't want to put extra burden. I mean, I don't want to put extra burden on the citizens of our county for things, or, you know, we try to, as an association also, like County Clerks and Election Authority, our association, we try to stay on top of things as a group, and we collectively have representatives from our association that will go and actually testify why it's not a good idea in hearings in Jefferson City throughout the year. A lot of those people live closer to Jefferson City, because I don't have the time to make the trip all of the time to Jefferson City. If I'm up there for a meeting, I might talk with somebody, but a lot of my contact is on the phone with our representatives. But those laws are being placed into effect, you know, trying to be placed into effect daily. Now, they don't go to fruition until August, you know, when everything's passed and voted on, but you have to get ahead of it and stop it before it gets too far, if it's something that's not good. So I definitely think that that's something that people could help with, because it is very cumbersome. But out of the 51,000 registered voters in our county, you would be surprised how many people move in and out of our county daily. So I can imagine, and I think Missouri has good systems in places for the election process, as far as the testing of our election equipment and the different types of tabulation systems that we can use for voting. I mean, I feel comfortable with that. I feel good with that. You know, some places out in other states you hear about, well, they were touching the voting machine and it was giving somebody else's answer. You know, like it was putting somebody on the ballot. You know, I think I mean, I don't want to name states or anything, but you hear about these different things that are happening out there, and because they didn't go through a calibration process. But in Missouri, all of that's done through the testing of the equipment. We do a public test before each election. We also do a post certification where they go back through and randomly draw precincts and retest those and count those. So I feel comfortable with our processes in Missouri. And I feel good with our laws in Missouri as far as canvassing the voter rolls every 2 years. I mean, you might wonder why, you know, why am I getting a new card, a new voter card in the mail? And I just sent out a press release on this today, but we're sending out about 48,000 actually active voter cards this week that will go in the mail to each one of you who's a registered voter. You will get a new voter card, and you will also get with it a 2016 voter information guide. Now, this is in conjunction with our voter canvas required by law every 2 years, because we send those to you, and if it's returned to us because it cannot be forwarded by law, then we take you out of, we inactivate you in the system. So that way somebody else cannot go and vote in your place. So we have very good laws in place with this canvassing. It helps us to maintain and clean up our voter rolls. So, I mean, we don't try to waste money every 2 years. We try to do it with pre-sort mail and try to get it as cheap as possible for postage and things like that. But some of these processes are put into place for reasons of canvassing the rolls. So you will be getting those in this next week. Yes.
By canvassing the rolls, what is that for a better understanding of it? I understand the results of it is good voter rolls.
Right.
But when you say the word canvassing, what does that mean? I don't understand.
It's sending a card to every registered voter. So if that registered voter, if the postman delivers it to that address and that person is there, it's deliverable. If that person is not there, you know, most mail is forwarded on, but ours is not. It cannot be forwarded. It says return to sender. It has our business reply mail, so it gets returned right back to us, and then right then we inactivate that individual.
That's what the canvassing means.
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
And so then those people are inactivated, so you don't have duplication of people, you know, at this address, and then they move to another place and they're voting there also, or they could be potentially registered here and registered somewhere else. So we inactivate that person. Now, if something happens, maybe, we still keep them in the system, but they're inactive. So if they would show up to the polls, they would have to show us some type of proof that that they still live at that address. Because there has been a time where maybe they just didn't put their apartment number or something like that. It didn't get delivered to their correct apartment number or something by the postman.
Is it possible, this is kind of getting off track a little bit, but say someone owns property in a couple different places.
Right.
Could they be registered in 2 different places? Could they actually vote for like county things if they had residences in different counties?
So in Missouri, so I can't speak for other states, and somebody asked me earlier about another state, and I don't know their laws there. But in Missouri, I feel comfortable because we are on that one centralized system. If somebody registers here and they try to register another location in Missouri, it automatically shows up that it's a duplicate voter. And so they can only be registered in one place or another. They cannot be registered in more than one place at one time.
So for like county and local stuff, they could only vote in one place.
Exactly. Now, if they are eligible by law to be registered at either place, but they have to pick that place of registration. And then there's laws for how often they can, how often before the election, prior to the election, they have to be registered 4 weeks prior to the election. So, I don't know of anybody that just registers here and then unregisters. And I mean, we would catch it because 51,000, it's a lot of voters, but I have the same people doing it all of the time. So
Sounds pretty fail.
they would catch it. Yeah. Now, in a larger location, it might be harder to stay on top of those things, but immediately if somebody's registered, in another location in Missouri, it pops up immediately. So they will never be registered in more than one location. Now, I will tell you, in the last presidential election, so it was 2008 this happened. Or, let's see. Yeah, it was 2008. We had people, a couple, like a man and a woman from Illinois, I believe, but they were coming over and they were trying to vote here in our county. And they showed up at probably 5 different polling locations trying to vote. And thankfully, none of our judges let them vote. And so, the one thing they did not do was, the people, I guess they were offered a provisional ballot, they didn't vote a provisional ballot because they didn't want to leave their name trail. They were just trying to vote to see if they could vote without being registered in the roll. But that's one thing with the poll pad that really helps out, because I'll tell you this, with those paper rosters that we had, it was a lot easier to just let somebody sign the book. Now, they're supposed to check identification. We go through a training system before every election here in our county, where every election judge goes to training before the election. And then they go work at the polls. But there could have been a time where somebody would just sign the poll, the paper roster, and go on. With our new system, they pull them up, they're not registered. They can't find anything for them to sign. They have nothing to sign, they have nothing to log them in to give them a ballot. And so the poll pad is very good, a fail-safe, because that inactive, if somebody's inactive, it shows up like right away and won't let them sign in. And where the paper roster, just set it on there. They could still sign if they needed to. So these poll pads that we've invested in are really good to prevent additional mishaps from happening. But thankfully in 2008, that couple did not get to vote. But I was reported at least 5 polling locations that they showed up at trying to cast a ballot.
Gosh.
Is the pad something just locally here in Cape County or southeast, or is it all of Missouri?
So it is up to the county clerk or election official in that jurisdiction what form they want to use. We were one of the first people to test it in Missouri when it came out, this particular poll pad, because it was new. It had just one piece of equipment. I don't want 20 pieces of equipment out there that can fail. I mean, that just causes me more problems and the voters more problems for the day. So when this came out, we were the first people in Missouri to test this particular system, and we really liked it. And so then we purchased it. A lot of other counties in Missouri since then have gone to it. Florida, a county in Florida came up and observed us during one of our big elections to see how it worked. They have, I mean, this, I was like, I could never do this job down there in Florida. They have sometimes 12-page ballots with amendments. I guess there's not a requirement for signatures on their amendments. They can get all kinds of amendments placed on the ballot. And they're like this long, and there's tons of them, and 12-page ballots, they're 2-page ballots. I was like, I don't know how you do it, you know? So they were thinking about going to that type of system, but it is getting more prevalent in Missouri. A lot more counties are using that system.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kara, but I've had 2 notifications that there's ice on the road west of Cape. My husband called and said to get home, please. because
Already?
Highway A is ice, raining ice. Where is it? And then, yeah, thank you. And anyway, and it's coming down now. Fred just went out front.
Well,
So
if you want me to end,
just
just say the word.
you go ahead and just. Does anybody feel like they need to leave?
Well, I can just kind of go through a couple things kind of quick. Some of the things, the next election is going to be March 15th, and it's the presidential preference primary for Missouri. And instead of doing the caucus type system, as some of the other states, Missouri has the presidential preference primary where you can go to the polls and cast your ballot on March 15th for your preference. And
So
this,
did you say we're not doing the caucus?
it's not a caucus type of vote system this time. It's actually going to the polls, casting your ballot for your preference. That's how Missouri has opted to go this time.
So why are we doing the caucuses on?
Well, then the delegates, then the, so after this election is held, then the delegates will go to the convention to take the choice of, whoever Missouri chooses to present then to the state, or to the national party, you see. So that the voters will actually get to choose their preference on March 15th. That's how Missouri has opted to go So these are the candidates that are on the ballot. This isn't the sample ballot, it's not ready yet. It should be ready within the next week, and that'll be posted on our website. We post everything on our website, and we also have a Facebook page now. It's Cape Girardeau County Elections. So we just put election information only on that Facebook page, and then our website's always available, and you can always call me and I can send it to you too.
After the vote, do the caucus, they can still vote for anybody they want to, is that right? Or do they have to vote in the first round for the preferences?
The preferences, the way I understand it is the preference will be taken, is what the Missouri's preference is. That's why they've chosen to let the voters decide the preference for Missouri. So, I mean, I hold the election. What?
That page is the starting point right
Yeah,
there.
that's who will be on the ballot. This is what your ballot will look like on March 15th as far as the candidates. Now, it won't actually look just like this, but these are the candidates for the different parties, and it's a party primary, so you would have to choose a party and then cast your vote for your preference of the president. So that's for this, and then our sample ballot, as soon as we get it ready, but it'll have these exact candidates on it, will be posted, like I said, on our Facebook page and on our county website. And you can always call our office, and we can always mail it to you, or fax it to you, or email it to you also. Then, of course, we'll have the April general municipal election. We don't know what's all on that yet, but there's usually all types of city stuff, school stuff, city stuff. Those are the elections for those. It's a municipal election. And any city or school entity can put stuff on. It's usually school board members, aldermen, and any issues that they may have. And we'll know what will be on that ballot next Tuesday is the final certification for that. So we would know what's going to be on our April ballot after next Tuesday, okay? Then the August 2nd primary, this sheet here with the notices of offices which to be nominated at the August primary election. Those are the offices that are available coming up for election this year in August. And actually filing starts for those offices February 23rd at 8 a.m. and then ends March 29th. And any of the upper offices you would file at the Secretary of State's office. And then for any of the county offices, you would file at our office there in Jackson. So those are the things that will be, offices that will be voted on in August. And as far as the issues that will be on the August ballot, we won't know that until later on in June. Okay? And all of that, like I said, as soon as we have that information, it will all be posted. A couple of other things here, we changed some voting, not polling locations. The polling locations will remain the same. Some people's polling location did change and they got a notification to their home address. But we changed some of our voting precincts in Cape to more match the ward lines because really they were supposed to be drawn to not cross over any major boundaries. So they're supposed to be confined within the wards, you know. So we changed those, and here is the listing of those, and then the new map, and then this was the old map just for reference on the back. So you have that, and then it will be posted on our website as well. And we tried to keep that with voter convenience, just thinking about voter convenience, and some people will be closer to a polling location even though they might have moved. And also, we were very it wasn't proportionate. Some polling locations were very busy and overwhelmed. Some polling locations hardly had anybody coming there through the election day. So we tried to, when we looked at making these new voting precincts, we tried to even that out while keeping in mind voter convenience, you know, to your home location. But we don't want voters to have to stand in line any longer than they have to, or have this precinct overwhelmed while this precinct has nobody over here showing up during the day. So when we changed those precincts, we evened that out. So, you know, a few people got upset because they like going to this one precinct because they know everybody there. You know, we're just a small enough county where everybody likes that, and unfortunate. I hate that. They can go say hello another day, but we really need to think about voter efficiency and being efficient for our voters in Cape County. So that's really why we did that. We are looking for election judges always, you know. We need Democrat and Republican election judges. So this is a form to fill out if anybody's interested in doing that. I know it's a long election day, but if you know anybody, take that with you and return that to our office.
Are you also training poll watchers again this year?
So, okay, so poll challengers, poll watchers, what Jan's referring to, the parties actually set those up. So the Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, and Constitution Party are able to have watchers or challengers at the election, at the polling location on election day. They're allowed to have one representative there from their party at the polls on election day to make sure the election process is going okay. That is those are allowed at every federal election. So in March, August, and November, those will be allowed. But you have to go through the party to do that. If the party asks me to hold, you know, some type of training just to know where they can, you know, the procedure and the laws surrounding that, I'd be happy to do that. But that's really set up through the party, you know. But we usually do have observers or challengers at the polls, and they're always welcome, you know. I mean, I want to make sure everybody knows that we're having fair
It was a great learning experience.
elections, and anybody, go through the party and any of those parties, and you can, I I'm sure they'll need help doing that this year. Also, voter registration drives. A lot of people have set up voter registration drives in the county. They try to get people to register. Usually that's set up through a group or a party or a group. You know, if you all wanted to conduct that, I know a lady's doing one this week at the university. So we are developing a student card for her so she can hand out with just letting them know the laws and those types of things. That should be available tomorrow. So we try to work with different people for the laws on absentee voting and people with disabilities, because we want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to vote. And absentee voting begins 6 weeks prior to each election. So if somebody can't get to the polls, they can come to our office. We'll do curbside voting. We might even go to a nursing facility or a hospital facility or something like that to vote if the person's confined due to illness or disability. We try to work with Sadie throughout the year to get information out in their newsletter, and then we'd be happy to give you all information to share with your all's newsletter as well. So we appreciate any feedback. You know, a gentleman called me in this last election, and he said, there's some sign, we don't know where to go when we get into Shawnee Park Center. I don't know where to go. I'm new. I don't know when I got in there where to go. I said, oh my goodness, I'll go right out there. Well, they had rerouted people a different route because they had the road closed. Now, I didn't know that, so I was very appreciative that he called and said that. You know, I don't take offense to that. I want to know. You know, call me if something's wrong. Let's get it corrected. Let's get it fixed. So on my part, guys, been out there. We put this huge sign up and got things going. You know, but I want people to know where to go to vote. So feedback is always appreciated. If you have a good experience, a bad experience, whatever, we need to learn from our experiences and make things better. So whatever we can do in Cape County to make elections better is our goal. But I do feel that Missouri has a very good voting process, a very secure process. The centralized system is maintained by the Secretary of State. You have to go through a system to get to it. It's not just like you can log on through a web. It's through an interface, and you have to have a log on and a password to get into the system. And so I feel good about it. There are voter lists by law that can be released to candidates and things, but it has the name and address of the voter and then their voting history. It doesn't have social security, phone numbers, or anything like that, birth date associated with it. So there's only one list that they can pull to give to someone, and that list might be accessible to the public, but not a social security number or anything like that. And some people feel that their voting history should be private, and that's a state thing. That's a state law. So that's, again, you know, that right now is public information. So if people wanted that changed, like any law, they would have to go to their legislators to do that.
So are you saying that you can get a list of people that have voted, not who they voted for?
Right, because we even by party, like I know that some of the different political parties have lists that they think, or these people are Republican and these people are Democrat. Well, they've just compiled that Republican and Democrat list based on support,
Right.
or based on this person supported this person, or this person joined in with this campaign, so they went on this list. When somebody pulls a Republican or Democrat ballot in Missouri, since you don't register with the party officially, you know, you can go into a primary into March or into August and choose whatever party ballot you want in the state of Missouri. They only get one ballot, and you only get to choose one time in that election, but you can choose either Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, or Constitutional Party in that election. And that's not recorded. That's not recorded what ballot you chose. It's recorded that you voted, but it's not recorded what ballot you chose, not in Missouri. Now, other states, some states you do have to register with a party, and that's the only way you can vote. In Missouri, it's an open primary, and that's by law. So, you know, people don't like having to say it when they get there, but it's an open primary, and that's what Missouri lawmakers have decided to go with. So that's why we have an open primary in Missouri, and that's why you don't really register with a party and officially. with the state. So, I was trying to see if she, there's some questions here. Yes, sir.
With you in your position, it sounds like, you want to ensure the voting process here is right.
Yes, sir.
done right. Would it be wrong to suspect that there's other people that are in similar positions as you that would go the other way with that?
You would hope to, you would hope to think not. I know most of the clerks in the state of Missouri because we have, meetings, we get together, we talk about things, and I think, they have to go through the election process, to get elected, to get to that position, and then it's like, once you get in there, it's integrity. It's like everything's relying on you. You're the one that's, everything's gonna come down to you on this. You would hope that you would want it to be the best it could be, and that's what I say. I tell all my election judges in training, I said, I don't want to be the county in the media, you don't want to be the polling location in the media, you have to do it right, and we're all there to hold each other accountable. That's really the reason why they have party. You have to have a Democrat and Republican at the poll at the time because they're supposed to help people be accountable to each other. That's the reason, that they're there as a team, that's why you have equal numbers at the poll, so they're supposed to hold each other accountable if something's not being done right. Our election judges here, just like, we're just there, we want these voters to get voted and do the right thing. They're in it because they are so passionate about the election process and just people being able to vote and doing the right thing. They're not going there thinking, we're gonna find something wrong today, and they just want to make sure everybody gets voted on. But that's our county and that's our state. I don't know what's going on in other states, and a lot of states have election boards, or even some, counties in Missouri that are larger, Kansas City, St. Louis, they have election boards with, they're supposed to have equal number of Democrat and Republican board members there conducting the election. But when you get out into these polls and things, you hope that everybody's there doing the right thing, but I always tell my judges, hold each other accountable. If you think something's not happening right, challenge, you need to step up and say something. That's why, and I don't know, I can't speak for every person out there in the world. You always want to hope for the best and think they're there for the right reason, but as good as I do, that's not the case with everybody, unfortunately, but I think the election officials, at least in Missouri, I think they're all on board 100% wanting to do the right thing and there for the right reason, but and that's why I welcome people, the challengers that are there, through these federal elections that are busier, it's more chaotic. Like a 79% turnout. It's a busy day. Everybody can't have eyes on everything. So it's good if we have people like that are from the parties there that are there to observe and can sit back and instead of working the busyness of it, they're there to really see what's going on. And if there is a problem, they can say, hey, what is this about? I think, somebody needs to check this out. What's going on? So, that's why I welcome that. And I always welcome people to come and see what we do and let's see if we can do it better. Or let's see, I know not everyone feels like that, but I like it because I always feel like a second set of eyes is better than just one set, So I like it when people get involved in our county. I don't know if I can say that for everybody else's county. I'm just speaking for my county alone, but for our county, so. I don't know, that's kind of a little quick overview of things, and I'm always, willing to talk about anything or with the election process or anything that's going on at the county, but a lot of things that go on I don't have control over, but the election process in our county is one thing that I do have some control over as far as what's governed by the laws, so that we can do some things to make things more convenient for people and help people out. So, do you all have any other questions or?
With regard to turnout, both locally in our area and statewide, what do you normally expect the turnout to be? Is it like 30%, 50%?
No, I always go back, because I always get asked that question by the media and by the state. The state wants to know my percent and the media. And I go back and I look historically, like our turnout for things, that's how I judge, and I think a lot of people do. And then I look at what issues are on the ballot, how engaged the community is. You know, in 2008, we had about a 40% turnout for this election in March, okay, this March presidential preference primary. And in 2012, there was about, I mean, it was terrible, it was like 7%. Because they kept saying it wasn't going to count because they did the deadlines and all this stuff. It was terrible. It was a disaster in my mind. We put all that money into elections and then no one shows up to vote. It's ridiculous. But it's disheartening, you know. But this time I have to look at it. My hope is always, I think I always overestimate because I'm just hopeful that people are going to show up. But we really sat down, actually today we were looking at ballots, ordering ballots for the election, you know. And I really think probably, of course I always order more because, you know, you don't want to run out, right? But I mean, I'm thinking maybe like 33 to 35% on this March election, you know, which is just as, I mean, I'll tell you, in 2008, the different feel, the different busyness, the different, it's so different already than it is now, and than it was in 2012. It was just, we had already started working heavily on election stuff in 2008, probably back in September. And I'm talking about requests from people being engaged, people getting stuff done for the election this year. This year, we're doing a lot of stuff because requirements by law, publications, all these different things, but the engagement of people isn't there. It's not there. It's not there like it was. And I'll tell you, in 2008, the campaign coordinator that they had, you know, I'm just telling you, they had a campaign coordinator in every county, in every state. I was telling I have a new gentleman that's working, that's supervising the election. I'm trying to like educate him on a lot of things, history and stuff. I was saying, you know, they had campaign coordinators in every county, in every state. And I said that we're calling, getting all this information, getting people working with the university, getting people engaged and all this stuff. And that's not happening this year. You know, that's not happening. So it's like, you know, it's like people need to get engaged and get people going. I mean, it's, you know, for whatever you feel is right, and you want to see come out of the August and November elections, because I mean, it's just the momentum and what went on in 2008 is not there this year. But you know, people can't wait to get engaged at the last minute and then all of a sudden think something's going to happen the way you want it to go. I mean, it's you know, it's like anything else. If you don't get information out to people and things, you know, and then at the last minute it's too late. You know, so I see that. And I was trying to educate him today. We were talking about those things and that what I saw then happening and what I see now, you know, because I'm thinking presidential this year is going to be crazy. We've got to prepare. We have to do this, and we have been preparing. We have been doing this, but the outside is not as engaged as it was then, for sure.
Last few years, I think it's fallen off.
And it's amazing to me because you hear, like I go out and I talk to people every day, you know, just in whatever, wherever I'm at. I'm in the hallway, I'm in the whatever, and people are stop and talk to you, you know, and they're engaged in it, they're talking about it, but then nothing happens. You know, they're upset about something, or they're talking about something, or they're passionate about one person or another, a candidate or another, and then that's as far as it goes, you know. It's like, you telling me, is it gonna make it happen, you know? It's like there has to be momentum, there has to be engagement, there has to be information, and there has to be getting, you know, the young people were really engaged in 2008. You know, the university, the students, the students, and that's not there this year. You know, I don't know how many speeches I did. I did so many talks that year for the university, did different classes, asked me to come and just talk about, you know, voting, and I haven't had one call about that this year. I've had a few groups call me and ask me to speak, but not anything like that. So it's interesting, you know? But people can't wait until the last minute and think, all of a sudden, why didn't, you know, I can't believe that didn't happen. Well, what did you do? You have to kind of look in the mirror and say, what did you do to get, you know, what did I do today to get this happening? Because it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, that's the way with anything. That's the way with any law. That's the way with, until it happens to somebody, and I say this all the time, I'm like, until it happens to somebody, then they don't think anything about it. They don't care to come out in April and vote. For the people who affect you most, you know, they don't care to come out and vote until something directly impacts them. And then it's like, oh my gosh, well, really, you have to be engaged and stay engaged in the process. And you want to, and you need to.
And the best way to contact you is the website or?
Yeah, I mean, through phone call, I mean, I'm happy to take a phone call, come to the office, email me, you know, anything. CapeCounty.us, www.capecounty.us is our website, and we try to post stuff, I mean, I try to post stuff on our website to keep it updated all the time. And then we have our new Facebook page for elections, and then I have email, Clerk@capecounty.us, and then my phone number, I'm sure it's on this pamphlet here, I'm sure of it, yep. So, you're welcome to call me or stop by anytime.
Here, would you draw for our?
But thank you so much.